Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode in our AEW series in TEW2020. I, of course, am CR Daredevil. It is the first week of April in 2020, and we are still on the road to Double or Nothing. It'd be about 4 weeks out, I believe. 4 or 5 weeks out. 5 weeks out. Yeah, it's the first week of May. But we're going to have to see what happens here today, as we have a bunch of stories that have been continuing to build up. And we're going to have to see where they all go after this episode. So we'll have to dive into things and see what's going on. We open up with, as usual, with our unofficial Dark, which sees Bear Country get a victory over Danhausen at Mansois in 6:56 when Bear Bronson pinned Danhausen with a choke bomb. 46 rating for the match. 45 from both members of Bear Country. 41 from both members of the other team, Mansois and Danhausen. So not too bad there. Mid 40s, mid to low 40s there. Not too bad. That could be beneficial in the future as we continue on. But Bear Country getting a victory here. Then we have Holly Cromwell taking on Anna Jay, and Cromwell gets a victory in 5:47 by pinfall. 32 for this matchup, 29 from Holly, and 31 from Anna Jay. So not great, but two kind of lower tier young talents in our women's division who are getting an opportunity to wrestle against each other and kind of see, try to get some work, try to keep getting better, and at the same time, progressing as they go. So not too bad, especially because this is happening on Dark anyway, so it's not a big deal. Obviously, if this happened on Dynamite, we'd be in trouble, but we can have this happen on Dark. So the witch, as she is, gets the victory over Anna Jay. And after that, we get a quick little interview segment with Lee Moriarty being interviewed by Andrew Ocampo. Just kind of hyping himself up, kind of talking about how he's been in some big profile matches here in AEW so far. But, not big profile matches, but he's had some high profile opponents. And he's looking forward to getting opportunities on Dynamite to really shine beyond what he's gotten so far. Then we have another match in our women's division. Gets a 31 rating as Aspen Rose defeats Roxy in 6:22 by submission with a siren song. 30 from Aspen, 28 from Roxy. Great, pretty good chemistry with each other, so that's good to see. But just another match to kind of see how some of the women who we have in our division are going to do. Of course, Roxy, for those who are unfamiliar, is the IRL Roxanne Perez right now in NXT. But in this universe, she's, just Roxy, and she's still got to build herself up a little bit, but not too bad of a showing for these two here. And then we have Dalton Castle with a brief little promo before his match on the main event of Dark here tonight, where he just kind of talks about, he just kind of cuts a basic Dalton Castle promo, being a peacock and all that stuff. And then he goes out and he defeats Scorpio Sky in 8:45 by pinfall to Bang Ring. 47 rating for the match, 48 from Castle, 37 from Sky. Pretty decent main event of Dark there, as Dalton Castle gets the victory. 3,756 people at the DB Mile Field see the start of Dynamite get a 50 rating. Not what I was hoping for, but that's all right. As Cody Rhodes comes out to open up Dynamite, says that he's had enough. He's not sure what's gotten into Jonathan Fatu or whatever the hell he's been talking about or anything like that, but he's had enough. He wants Fatu one-on-one, and he won't take no for an answer. In fact, he's willing to hold up Dynamite in order to get his answer. As he's sitting there waiting, it's one of those things that, some time goes by. He's just waiting. Commentators talking about kind of the history between the two. When all of a sudden, a video starts playing on screen. Not like the TV screen, but up at the entrance area screen. It shows Brandy Rhodes talking to a backstage worker, which seems to be filmed on a different kind of camera than usual. It's not one of the actual AEW production cameras or anything like that. It seems to be kind of like a phone or maybe a handheld camera or something like that. Camera turns around and shows Jonathan Fatu looking into it. Fatu says that since he's here already, maybe he'll give his answer to Brandy instead of Cody. Camera then cuts off, goes to black, all that. Cody immediately sprints from the ring to the backstage area as everyone in the arena is left wondering what's happening. 50 rating here. Hoping for a little bit better, but is what it is. Doesn't hold up a lot of hope for what's going to be happening later too, but whatever. That's fine. That's 50 rating, as we'll have to see. Can Cody make it to Brandy in time, I guess? Well, suddenly this got a little personal. Jonathan Fatu is going after Brandy now instead of focusing attention on Cody. Then our opening contest of Dynamite is this week's qualifier for the AEW International Championship ladder match at Double or Nothing. And it sees a 55 rating. It sees Johnny Gargano defeat Ricky Starks, Austin Gunn, and Adam Cole in 11:44 when Gargano gets Austin Gunn to submit with the Gargano escape. During the matchup, Hangman Adam Page ran in and attacked Adam Cole. It was one of those things where Cole was setting up for the finish when he got jumped by Hangman Adam Page, to the crowd going crazy about that. And Austin Gunn, who was kind of being set up for the Panama Sunrise from Adam Cole, kind of staggered his way out of that, only get locked in to the Gargano escape from Johnny Gargano, and he submitted. 55 rating means Johnny Gargano is moving on to the AEW International Championship ladder match, that is, at Double or Nothing. So yeah, that match is starting to turn out pretty interesting. And of course, we're continuing things with Hangman Adam Page and Adam Cole with this too, because Hangman Adam Page came out and attacked Adam Cole, costing him this matchup. 67 from Cole, 30 from Starks, 32 from Austin Gunn, and 59 from Johnny Gargano. Adam Cole and Hangman Adam Page obviously not done yet, but yeah, so far we have 4 of our 6 qualified for the ladder match at Double or Nothing. We have Angelico, who qualified first. Then we have The Blade, we have MJF, and now we have Johnny Gargano. So 2 more spots left. We'll have to see who ends up claiming those 2 spots for themselves. Then after that, we go backstage, continuing on the story with Cody Rhodes. That's got a 58. Okay, I know what happened then. As Cody makes it to the backstage area, where the scene earlier was taking place, he finds a backstage worker that Brandy was talking to, but he doesn't see Brandy, so he demands to know where Brandy is right now. The worker says that he doesn't know what Cody's talking about because he says that Brandy received a text while they were talking and said it was from Cody. Said that he needed her to meet him in the parking lot. Cody immediately takes off running towards the parking lot, camera following behind him as he goes. Once he gets to the parking lot, he sees Brandy standing around looking for him. He calls out to her and she turns around, only to be immediately grabbed from behind by someone in a mask. She's quickly tossed into the back seat of a car, and as Cody sprints towards her, he gets super kicked out of nowhere by Jonathan Fatu. The car speeds off with Brandy still in it, as Fatu leans down and says that Cody may want to keep his phone with him at all times this time, before dropping it on Cody, who's laid out. And Fatu walks off. So Jonathan Fatu just kidnapped Brandy Rhodes, or at least helped facilitate the kidnapping of Brandy Rhodes. So this definitely went very quickly in a personal direction between these 2 men. And we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. Got a 58 rating. Was kind of hoping for better, but it is what it is. But yeah, Brandy's been kidnapped by someone in a mask that may or may not have been a result of Jonathan Fatu. We're not sure, but it definitely seems like it. So 58 rating here for that. Then we have a decent matchup, gets 57, because they don't seem to click. That sucks, but that's all right. Now I know for next time. As a decent matchup, Miro defeats Andrew Everett in 10:37 by pinfall with a jumping sidekick. 57 from Miro, 47 from Everett. Lost heat for the storyline between Miro and Matt Sydal. I believe, I had Matt Sydal at ringside for this one, if I remember right. Nope. Yeah, Matt Sydal was at ringside. He came out partway through the matchup and watching it. Yeah, I was hoping for better. I didn't expect the bad chemistry between the 2, but it's all right. We can make up that heat. But Miro getting the victory over a small flippy boy, as he's kind of referred to. And so the idea being that Miro's kind of showing that he can destroy someone similar to Matt Sydal, and that he can beat Matt Sydal when the time comes as well there. There you go. Then after that, 54 rating here for this. Not bad. As the Bunny and Rosemary are in some kind of spooky looking place. Rosemary appears to be holding a couple of voodoo dolls, that is, and upon closer inspection, they appear to be of Chris Statlander and Alexis Kaufman. The Bunny then says that Lexi, kind of saying in a taunty way, Lexi, has been so busy with trying to apologize to her friend that she hasn't given the Bunny her answer yet. She hasn't given the answer as to whether she's going to grant her a rematch for the AEW Women's World Championship yet, which makes the Bunny a very unhappy person. She looks into the camera and says, "And you, Lexi, you wouldn't like what happens to a very unhappy bunny." She kind of looks over at Rosemary and nods, as Rosemary then hands off the voodoo doll of Lexi over to the Bunny before producing a hammer from out of sight. Rosemary then proceeds to strike the Chris Statlander doll in the back of the head with the hammer for kind of cackling in a very demonic way. So, not sure what the hell's going on there, but Bunny is being very spooky. We'll have to see if that ends up getting her answer or not. 54 rating for this, not bad. Not too bad for these two at all. Then we have women's tag team action, kind of following up to a match that happened. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago on Dynamite when Riho beat Ashley Lane in the ring in what some consider an upset. So it ended up being that Ashley Lane challenged Riho to a rematch, which ended up being a tag team matchup. And Riho and Kylie Ray, or Ray/Riho, as I have not come up with a better name for them yet, defeat Ashley Lane and her tag team partner of the night, Camilla Khan, in 9:58 when Riho pinned Camilla Khan with a Samato. 47 rating for the match, 54 from Ashley Lane, 53 from Riho, 35 from Camilla Kane, and 39 from Kylie Ray. So there you go. So now Riho's beaten Ashley Lane in tag team action as well, although she didn't actually pin her in that matchup in this match, but still, she beat her in tag team action as well. I'm not doing an official storyline between Ashley Lane and Riho right now. This is kind of like an unofficial story happening between the two, but there's that. So we'll have to see where things go heading forward with that. Then after that, we go backstage, and there's a bit of commotion happening, as it shows that Chris Statlander has been laid out backstage. Blood is coming from the back of her head, and she is unconscious, which is very interesting, seeing as what happened in that segment before the match that we just had. Backstage officials and Steven Regal are checking on Statlander when Alexis Kaufman shows up. Kind of not really showing any concern until she realizes, she shows a little bit of concern, but then she realizes who it is, and she's suddenly, really concerned. And she's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And Regal, is like, "Well, we don't know, we just found her like this." And he's like, the whole time he's saying this, he's turning, and then he notices that it's Alexis standing there, and he kind of pauses. And he's like, "Alexis, I have to ask, where were you? I mean, we've seen it recently. This is your friend, but now she's laid out backstage, and the last time we saw the two of you together the last time we saw the two of you, you were hitting her in the back of the head with your championship, and then you were trying to apologize to her. Did you do this?" And Alexis is like, "Are you accusing me of something?" Something again, kind of defensive about that. Before Thea Trinidad, of course, debuting last week as the newest member, possibly the newest member of the Dark Order. It was never really confirmed whether she was joining the Dark Order, but she's there with Tommy End. But she pops up saying that the last time she saw Chris, her and Alexis were walking together just down, in a hallway, in the hallway just over there, and that was just a little bit ago. And then there ends up being a bit of an argument between Alexis Kaufman and Thea Trinidad, with security having to try to separate them. Regal then yells at security to take them away, while Chris is being helped out by medical personnel. So Thea Trinidad stirring the pot, saying that the last time she saw Alexis and Chris, it was just a little bit ago, and they were in a hallway right nearby. So What exactly happened? We're not sure, but 51 rating here for this as some issues happening and we saw Rosemary hit the voodoo doll in the back of the head with a hammer, and now we see Chris Statlander laid out with blood coming from the back of her head. Whoa. Does that mean is there a connection there? We're not sure, but 51 rating here as there is some very spooky stuff going on here in AEW right now. Then we have a decent matchup. Speaking of spooky stuff, we have Tommy End go out to the ring and he defeats Austin Creed in 8:43 by pinfall to Black Mass. Only gets a 58 rating. 58 from Tommy End, 49 from Austin Creed. Tommy End getting a victory here on Dynamite over Austin Creed, which, does have a little bit of stuff to do with the story because, of course, the Dark Order's feuding with the Elite right now. And when Austin Creed showed up, kind of towards the start of Dynamite 9 months ago or so, he was teaming up with Kenny Omega. So a little bit of story stuff there. 58 rating for this. Tommy End then sits in the ring, does the cross-legged sit in the middle of the ring after the match until he gets hit from behind by a V-trigger from Kenny Omega from out of nowhere. Crowd pops as Omega goes on the attack, punching away at Tommy End. For security, pull him off of him, and rolls out to the outside, kind of staggering his way towards the ramp area. And he's laughing. He's sitting there laughing it up. Kind of in a spooky laughing tone, as Omega can be seen with a very pissed off look in his face and a bit of darkness around his eyes. So Kenny Omega, who last week got misted in the face by the debuting Thea Trinidad, thanks to Tommy End, because on Tommy End's orders, I guess, so to speak, coming after End right now. We're seeing a more aggressive side of Kenny Omega. So what is that going to lead to? We're not sure, but 54 rating here as Kenny Omega seems to be a little bit more aggressive than normal. Where that's coming from, we're not sure, but we'll have to see. Then we have just a basic backstage or sit-down interview with Pac talking to Tony Schiavone. Gets a 53 rating. Pac came across well, which is interesting. Not really continuing a storyline with this because I knew it wasn't going to be that great of a rating for the segment, but essentially with this was just, Pac kind of talking about being the world champion and, having to deal with all challengers and, kind of talking about the issues with House of Truth, including talking about tonight's tag team matchup as the main event is going to be the Lucha Bros taking on the Private Party. He's just talking about how he's looking forward to being done with Jay Lethal once and for all and moving on to other challengers here in AEW because there's a lot of great talent here in the company, and he looks forward to defending this championship against them all. Then we get a 68 rating as Jon Moxley has words for Brian Cage before his matchup next. Mox is going to be having a matchup next year. But he has words for Brian Cage beforehand. He says that Cage has been giving it to him in their brawls lately, which he respects. But he's been wondering if Cage would like to have an actual match instead of just brawling with him every single week. So he issues a challenge to Cage anytime, anywhere. Gets a 68 rating here. And then his match gets 54. Oof. Expecting a little bit better, but all right. It's a decent matchup. Jon Moxley defeats Wheeler Yuta 9-11 by pinfall to Death Rider. 37 from Yuta, 62 from Moxley, as Moxley gets kind of a decisive victory here on Dynamite. His match is kind of stumbling a little bit today, but that's all right. Then after that, 48 rating for this, as Andy Ocampo is standing by backstage with Mercedes, Karen Q, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Ocampo asks Mercedes about the challenges from 3 Elite, but before she's able to respond, Baker talks about how great it is to be teaming up with someone like the Boss. Of course, last week on Dynamite, we did find out that Mercedes was going to have to find 2 people to team up with her tonight against 3 Elite, and it turns out that it's Karen Q and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. That's going to be her partners. Baker says that the only problem is that there's only one face of the women's division here in AEW, and Mercedes is looking at her. Mercedes then rolls her eyes already annoyed with having to deal with these two, before saying that maybe she'll have to prove otherwise. Or maybe she'll let Ray do that. Isn't that right? She says to someone off screen. Baker and Q turn around really quickly, thinking that Mercedes is talking to Kaylee Ray, but there's nobody there. When they turn back, Mercedes is already walking off for the matchup next, which Baker and Karen Q quickly go after her for that. 48 rating here. Gained heat for the Baker and Kaylee Ray storyline, so that's good. But yeah, so Mercedes not wanting to deal with being associated with partners. She doesn't have any friends here in AEW. She wants, she has a bunch of enemies because she wants to be the boss. She wants to be the top star in the women's division. And so she doesn't have any friends here, but she has to deal with these two to team up against the Three Elite here tonight. That match gets a 47. Huh. I was expecting better than that. Everybody's kind of off tonight when it comes to in-ring performances. In a poor matchup, Three Elite defeat Mercedes, Britt Baker, and Karen Q in 11:54 when Io Shirai pinned Karen Q with the Magica de Io. During the matchup, Kaylee Ray ran in and attacked Britt Baker, which kind of set up a 2-on-3 scenario. Mercedes not really wanting to get involved in that, brawl between Kaylee Ray and Baker. Was already dealing with Kairi Hojo, Mayu Itani. Karen Q kind of found herself set up alone and was defeated. 47 rating. Oof. 35 from Karen Q, 43 from Baker, 56 from Mercedes, 44 from Mayu Itani, 46 from Io Shirai, and 48 from Kairi Hojo. Man, what happened to Kairi there? Mayu seemed off her game, so she could have had a better in-ring performance. But she did benefit from having a hot new move, so that kind of balanced that out, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with this one here. Yeah, that's weird. Expected better from that, but whatever. 47 rating here as the Three Elite get the victory over Mercedes and her partners. So Mercedes, I believe, no, she didn't suffer her first loss. She lost to Kairi at Fyter Fest. But she suffered another loss here in this 6-woman tag match. And what's the semi-main event of Dynamite here tonight? Then we get a 49 rated segment. This is going to be a rough Dynamite. But that's all right. We got to build them up. Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager are backstage talking to each other when Chris Jericho shows up. Jericho gets overexcited about him and Guevara's win over the Jurassic Express, before saying that he has another match for them next week on Dynamite but he gets cut off before he can say who it's against, because Sammy asked Jericho, why are you doing this? Like, are you all right? You've been this way since you lost to Moxley. I don't understand. Like, you're supposed to be one of the best in the world. You're supposed to be, one of the biggest stars in the world, and you're freaking out you're getting super overexcited about tag team victories and stuff like that. Like, what's going on with you? Chris just laughs that off. Says it's all about the inner circle. Jake's like, okay, well, if it's all about the inner circle, you keep talking about you and Sammy, but what about me? Chris is like, I didn't forget about you, Jake. I got you a big time match next week on Dynamite. Jake's like, okay, well, who am I facing in that matchup? Jericho kind of starts laughing it off and says, all right, you guys, I'll see you next week, before he walks off, leaving Guevara and Hager to further question Jericho's sanity at this point, because he's clearly losing it. We're not sure what's happening, but he's clearly losing it. It only gets 49. Guevara underperformed. Gotta get his entertainment up a little bit, but there you go. So we'll have to see what happens with that heading forward. So next week we apparently have a tag team matchup for Les Sex Gods, and we also have a singles matchup for Jake Hager. Could have been better, but it's not bad. As in about that decent wrestling, not much heat. The Lucha Bros defeat Private Party in 13-14 when Penta El Zero M pinned Isaiah Cassidy with Pentagon Driver after Truth Martini accidentally hit Isaiah Cassidy in the matchup. 67 rating there. 72 from Penta, 67 from Phoenix, 56 from Mark Quinn, and 49 from Isaiah Cassidy. So there you go. A pretty good main event for Dynamite this week. I saw the Lucha Bros, and more specifically, Death Triangle get some more momentum in this recent battle against the House of Truth. We'll have to see what happens next week between those two sides. Dynamite this week gets a 64 rating. We lost popularity in one region, which is probably the Southeast, but we gained popularity everywhere else. Well, and then 46 other regions. So, yeah, not a strong show. Not a strong show, but we didn't have a lot of our strongest in-ring workers working this show as well. Pac wasn't in a matchup. Matt Sydal wasn't in a matchup. Put Moxley in a match thinking that he was going to have a better in-ring performance, and he didn't for some reason. So, yeah. But I don't want to cheese the system and just be like, I'm just going to have weekly Pac matches every week. So, it's that way he can have really great in-ring performances and constantly give us great matches. Like, I'm trying to make it smart, and at the same time I'm trying to tell stories. So there's going to be some Dynamites like this one where, things just don't quite work out, but we did tell stories otherwise. We just got to build up some popularity and some skills of some people along the way. But, we're going to have to see what happens next week. I mean, Brandy Rhodes apparently has been kidnapped by Jonathan Fatu, or at least was helped to be kidnapped by Jonathan Fatu. John Moxley issued a challenge to Brian Cage, so we'll have to see if that gets answered. Kenny Omega getting very aggressive and attacking Tommy End. Some issues between Thea Trinidad and Alexis Kaufman, so we'll have to see where things go from there. And a lot of other stuff that happened on that show. Okay, can't reveal that yet, so. Yeah. Tanahashi got loaned out to New Japan. Jay Lethal got loaned out to CMLL because of the New Japan thing. So Jay Lethal will be working a CMLL show coming up. Hopefully it's not a night where we need him, but whatever. Dynamite was good, although some found it underwhelming. But it was still the best show on the night. We lost some of the room that we're gaining on NXT this week, though, because we ended up 400,000 fans behind, or 400,000 viewers behind them. But we did have a 64. NXT only had a 56, as they saw Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan defeating Heavy Machinery to retain the NXT Tag Team titles. Yeah, unfortunately, not good enough to really close the gap between the two when it comes to viewership there for this week. So there's that. We'll have to see what happens in the future for that one, as that was a bit of a stumble. But you know what? Like I said, it's all right. We're building up stories, we're building up things, and we're going from there. Popularity wise, we're still medium size, 65 popularity in Southeast, 54 in a few other places in America, 48, 47 in the rest of it. So we're building, we're getting there. As you can see, we've been building. Dynamite started in July 19 there, so we've gained about, depends on the region you're looking at. The Southeast kind of went down a little bit before building back up recently, so not complaining about that. Some of the other regions jumped up quite a bit when it came to nearby coverage, and then some of them, a decent amount. But we're getting there. We are getting there for sure, and we will get to the point where we will have a bigger company in the near future. But that's going to do it for this episode of AEW. Thank you all for watching. In this series, we will see you next week for another edition of Dynamite. And on the channel, we'll see you tomorrow for yet another video.